It's so much of what Reiki is about, its natural energy. And if you think about Usui Sensei, and the very first decision he made was to share Reiki with the world. And so, in my years of doing this, and working with Reiki, that it is part of the energy of it is sharing and community and inclusiveness and unification. And so you can see in our communities like this that there are people here with all different beliefs and spiritual and religious practices, political beliefs and differences, and kind of daily beliefs. And what we know as a community is that we really care deeply about contributing wellness. And sometimes the wellness is focused, just really needs to focus on yourself. And that's where your wellness is. And so that is equally sharing it as in contributing wellness into a larger group. It all has so much meaning in today's world, because I really believe, and in my belief system, is that we really make a difference by, when we talk about co-creating. What does co-creating mean? We co-create our reality. And I remember when I first heard that concept, and it took, a long time ago, really in the beginning of my spiritual studies with shamanism and Reiki, and how we co-create our reality. And now I have such a greater understanding of it, that we do that individually and collectively. And so I also have an awareness that, in co-creating that reality, we can all have varying results and consequences of the collective co-creation as we do individually. I hope that made sense. But what we do when we come together like this, in my belief, and what I am shown spiritually, is that we empower the higher frequencies of energy and thought and consciousness, that they all exist. Higher and lower frequencies exist in our reality, in this earth reality, and in our own minds, and in everything around us. And so when we intentionally empower higher frequencies, which can often be different than how we feel in the moment, we can equally feel challenged or difficult or grief or even anger or any of those feelings. And we can still intend that we empower higher frequencies, because we take a moment to notice it and to invite it to really to transform, and using Reiki energy to help that happen. Also, many of us have spiritual relationships that with beings, God, Great Spirit, Goddess, brothers and sisters in the light, the divine animal kingdom, so many different spiritual beings, that, again, a huge diversity in a community like this, because this is really very independent spiritual path, and determining your own inner truth, determining for yourself. And so when your inner truth is that contributing to wellness, that is a greater energy than how maybe you have a feeling in the moment, or, a very valid reason to be in what you might feel like is a lesser vibration than a higher frequency. Like I say, I think they can coexist. Of course, we always love when our minds, our body, our feeling, and everything is in alignment with the higher frequencies. But that's why we use the tools that we have to empower, make that difference. And I find metaphors that I can use to describe what it seems like we really do energize these higher frequencies and co-create them into a physical reality. So thank you all. And this month we've been talking about gratitude and how to get there and how to have more of it if you are already there, and more of it if you're not so much there. And of course, last week we had our gratitude ceremony, and I actually still have the centerpieces up and get to look at them all day and light the candles and the crystals. And some of the crystals that we used in those centerpieces will be given in our family holiday dinner this year. So thank you. Yeah. So anyway, again, really glad we're all here, and thank you for being community with us, and for all of us, and for yourself and collectively. So thank you. I truly am so grateful, so grateful. So
Yeah, I just wanted to, kind of talk about some of the technical stuff, because I know we have some new faces here. And so, as Colleen said, it's 9:30 every week, and all levels are welcome, and experience levels. And, you can have been here a few times and then not for a long time and then come back. And so all of that is very welcome. Also, we also like it to be as stress-free as possible. So if you need to come late, you need to leave early, all of that is totally fine. And so just feel very comfortable with that. And normally how the format goes is that we have either an invocation or a guided journey that Colleen and I channel. Usually it brings up either kind of, what we're talking about, or like we did a one that was centered around the eclipse a few weeks ago. And we will also be talking about different Reiki topics. So as Colleen said, in November, we've been talking about gratitude. And so Colleen or I or Danny will talk about different Reiki topics. Then we go into the breakout rooms where we give and receive Reiki with each other. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get closer to that. And again, it's just very comfortable, very easy with that. And then at the end, we spend some time doing some group Reiki. We send to, we have a lot of people that put in the chat, different people that need supporting in their community themselves. So we kind of use the power of the circle to send to everybody here in the circle, and then also to different world events, the peace grids, things like that, where we get a chance to send some group Reiki. So that's the normal format. Of course, the caveat that you never know what Colleen and I are going to do. So generally speaking, that's the format. But, we definitely have the caveat that, things channel through and it just is what it is. But it's always related to Reiki topics. It's always related to, different things that are going on, and different Reiki things. So a lot of work, and um, it's just nice to sometimes just kind of put that work aside and um, to just receive and allow the Reiki energy and the illumined ones, or however that works for you, to just help to, you know, bring us in, and that relaxation, and letting go of any of that tension. Here in the US, we have Thanksgiving coming up in a couple days. And so we just have always, so many of us have a variety of experiences and what that means for us. Um, I know we have people who are international, and so that you know, may not be this week, but everybody celebrates holidays at one time or another. And so there's, you know, a lot of busyness around those. There's, some of us that have really joyful holidays. There's some of us that have stressful holidays. There's some of us that have really hard holidays. And so in these circles, it's always such a mix of experiences. No matter, and I think, and Colleen's going to talk a little bit more about that, but no matter what um, the experiences of the holiday are, there's always a kind of a collective energy that starts to kind of get more and more raised as we move into them. And so for those of you that aren't from here, we have our Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday. But you can still feel the collective energy regardless of how that looks for you. And so even if it's, the idea of it is wonderful and joyful, there's still a lot of busyness. And, in different circumstances, whether it's holidays or just world events, we can feel the collective energy as well. And then if we also add to it that we, in this circle and other circles, it's just, we've just been doing a lot of, I think we all have kind of been doing a lot of work recently. And so it's just nice sometimes to just take a break from that, even if it's just for a few minutes, whether it's, the idea of the holidays, or whether it's just healing work, revealing work, all of that. Just be nice to receive, do some self-care, and just really go into that kind of deep relaxation around it, and just take some time for you. Self-care is really important. Whether things are hard or things are good, self-care is really important. And so you can just, what was that, 10, 15 minutes? Just take some time for you. And so that's why it came through. And at the same time, that co-creation piece of it, that as Colleen was talking about, the illumined ones here, and the Reiki energy, the frequencies of the symbols, and however that looks for you, they're still here supporting you, and they're still here helping in that co-creation. And sometimes that co-creation is the really big things, and other times it's just helping to highlight that next step in front of you so that things can feel a bit more at ease within you and all around you.
Also, I really love the way, Robyn, that the whole invocation came in as receive.
Yeah.
And what we had talking about today is, is the holidays. And like Robyn said, even if this particular upcoming one is not a holiday, we all have varying things, I think, occurring also with starting to have gatherings. And that I know for us and our family, this is the first family gathering that we will have had since 2019. And those can be big and they can be loud and have a lot of different personalities, different beliefs, different energies that come into one space. And it's been a while since everyone's done that. And then we also acknowledge that there are a lot of people that are not having family gatherings, but are maybe, alone or challenged by that. A lot of people are experiencing grief from recent loss or current loss or even long-term loss. So what we wanted to talk about today was what Reiki tools we have to manage any of the circumstances. And out of everything that I have ever learned about skills with Reiki, the first one is receive. And I think that for me, that was one of the hardest ones to learn, was to receive. Many of us are overgivers, and we actually will expend, so much personal energy and outflow in any of our life circumstances. And many of us are highly empathic. So we also pick up, as Robyn was talking about, the collective. So regardless of what our personal experience is, everything kind of amps up right now during this time on a collective level. So if you're empathic, you can also start really connecting in with that and not really realizing that's that energy or that underlying, like, whatever, however it affects you, whether it's underlying, gives you a sense of anxiousness. I noticed it this morning where I had kind of a knot in my stomach, and I had to really stop and take a minute and, put my hands there and just think about it from the perspective of, is this mine, or is it part of that energy that, being so empathic that I can feel? And so both, it's like, yeah, well, there's some of both. It's incredibly busy. It can also be expensive. Holidays with finances can be another stressor, things like that. For me, that is okay on my end with our gathering, but I'm aware that for some, that's another challenge that comes with it. But anyway, so what do you do? Right? What do you do about it? And I think that first step is that receiving. The next thing that I think about that is I had a really busy morning, and always it's busy on these days. I typically have sessions before the distance Reiki share. I start very early because I'm such an early riser and very busy. So I also was thinking about remembering Reiki on the fly, that, to share with you again. Sometimes you feel like I don't have time for self-care, or I can't, or maybe you even have a resistance to it in the moment because things are enough, they're loud enough. I'm going to clear my throat a minute. And so, remembering that Reiki does not respond to us according to how much time we spend with it, all the different things that we do to connect with it. Those change our experience. Reiki responds because we invite it, we open and we access it. We not only invite an external source, but we invite our internal source to reveal and wake up. And then you have times like in Robyn's invocation that for me, it was like, and
I didn't realize how much tension I was holding in my body, even though I don't necessarily feel like I'm stressed about it all until that. I was like, oh,
that was the same here.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, there's that knot.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you can take the time, sometimes the Reiki on the fly is what will kind of shift my perspective enough to take a little bit more time. And other times it's just clear and like, no, I just need to do Reiki on the fly and let it do that work. And if you haven't heard me use the term Reiki on the fly before, I wrote an article about it. And it's on our website, reikilifestyle.com. Under the Reiki library, we have Reiki articles and it's in there. But anyway, it's the concept is simple, that you can just simply think Reiki, say the names of the symbols. You can do it while you're busy. You can do it while you're still. You can be in the stillness, in the busyness. All of those things that the Reiki energy can help with. Also, the other awareness is, Robyn, I really liked in your invocation was how utilizing that distance Reiki energy to go forward into these next several days. And then you extended it and went to, well, maybe next week, well, maybe even after that. And remembering again, Reiki has no time and space. So you're just sending it into your pathway. So for me, because we have a big family gathering and because it's a busy time for me, I'm going to be involved with all the setup and everything that happens, and there will be 19, 20 people, so it'll be busy. And I send Reiki ahead of time. I also send Reiki ahead of time for me to be in that amount of activity. they're a very loud crew. Lots of fun, but very loud. Robyn, I saw you on mute.
Well, I was just going to say, as an empath, that can be challenging.
It can be challenging.
Even if it's like good energy. And if it's challenging energy, it's even harder.
Yeah. And truthfully, you never know in gatherings with people. You never know. So I thought about also the tools that I have that I want to share with you that I use. First of all, distance Reiki for myself, and also because I'm going to a family member's house and they absolutely are welcoming Reiki in the space. So I'm also sending it ahead for the space. So again, to give you a how-to is again just activating Reiki. You can do it on the fly, or you can take time with it, and you can actually create that bridge of light to the event and send Reiki to it. The other one is recognizing that while you're there, you also have tools, because if you remember you have Reiki on the fly, that gives you the opportunity to think about the energy and let the energy come in. And so here's the other one for me that was a really big, like long-term lesson that those of you have been, part listening for a lot of years have heard a lot about, is healing my opinions. And I found that change in myself changed my entire experience in gatherings, because I got to the point where I understood my opinions. I understood that other people have opinions that are different than mine. And I also understand that I'm very aware that I am really I've spent a lot of years paying attention to opinions. What are mine? What are not mine? Opinions that may be part of the collective, part of broadcasts, things that I know just a little bit about, things that I don't know anything about, but have an opinion about, a generational opinion, gender opinions, all different political opinions, spiritual opinions, relationship opinions. So I'm very aware of my thought process around it in gatherings. And one of the main things that happened for me by paying attention to it was freedom. Freedom from having to engage in them in the moment. It's like, it's okay if people are going to have opinions that I would normally have interjected mine into. And I have a choice about my voice. I get to decide in a moment if it's important for me to voice an opinion, if it makes a difference, if it's something that I want to engage in, and whether I want to spend my energy in a conversation, and whether or not the conversation is going to be a debate, or whether the conversation is going to be an exchange of ideas. And do I want to have them in that time and space? So all the consciousness, and I wrote an article about it too, and I just reread it because I wrote it so many years ago, 2014, Clarifying Opinions, and it's on our website too. But I just reread it and thought, I love it, because the way that Reiki works is there's an energy of discernment that goes with Reiki energy, because it's taking you to higher consciousness. So higher consciousness naturally has discernment. Sometimes it is important for me to engage in my opinions, or sometimes it's important for me to hear that maybe something I have is different than someone else. And do I need problem solving around it? And so sometimes it brings clarity for things I need to be thinking about or paying attention to. Other times it's just noise. Yeah. Right? Like, ugh. So anyway, I just had to bring that in because it was brought up in my ear this morning to talk about, because I think that's one of the things that happens in people gatherings, is it's very natural to share opinions. And right now there's so many. And right now, so many of them really are important. So this is not to bypass. This is to discern. And so for me, the first, going back to it, the very first step is receiving. And the receiving and inviting the Reiki energy to come in first takes me to a new place. And one of the things that I came to in solution around all of the opinions, that is what generated the gratitude ceremony, is that I was shown that gratitude is the pathway to peace, which is what Usui Sensei taught also. And that when I am in a state of gratitude, and even if I'm not feeling the gratitude, I can add Reiki and add gratitude to, the energy there. And sometimes the way that I can get to gratitude the easiest is through noticing beauty. And so I'll just take some time to notice beauty. And so really taking some time to send Reiki to myself ahead of time. And again, that is true whether you are having a gathering or maybe you're doing something different for the holidays and you don't have, even, not wanting to do the holidays, all of that. There's no, Reiki is available for all of us for all of our circumstances. So the other two tools that I wanted to bring up that I use when I'm actually in the gathering is remember that we have Gyoshi Ho, one of the Japanese Reiki techniques Usui Sensei taught, which is Reiki with our eyes. And we have Koki Ho, Reiki with our breath. And so I can also utilize that. In animal Reiki, we teach Reiki zones. And so I place a Reiki zone around me, place Reiki in the space. In the moment, I have my breath. I actually create the field of Reiki light around me so that as I walk through all the varying dynamics and vibrations of the gathering, which, like I say, I anticipate it to be good. I don't mean it like that, but it's just a lot of different people and personalities to think about. That Reiki, when I place it around me, and you can do that simply, by drawing symbols around you or beaming it or thinking it, but placing that field around you so that as you are in gatherings of people, you have that field. It's like a filter. The energy of Reiki is like a filter. Yeah, Steve. So Gyoshi Ho at funerals and, just remembering your tools, I guess, is the simplest thing. And start with receiving. Because a lot of times that is really where I go. Because a lot of times in situations, we think about sending Reiki to the other person. And I've really found it's all about me receiving first. And that's what shifts my energy and takes me into that place of discernment. And then I'm going to say one more thing that is in this article that is also something that I've used a lot of. In Neil Donald Walsh years ago, I read Conversations with God, like probably in the late 1990s. And one of the questions he said in every situation to ask yourself is, what does love do now? My dearest friend, dear friend, Pam McMahon, always said, what does love do here? And so that's a great question that you can ask. And what I've learned is to take the moment and not assume what that's going to mean. Let the energy actually answer that question. What does love do now? What does love do here? And that can be for yourself. It can be about a circumstance. It can be about others. However that is, it is a question that brings that discernment in. So activating Reiki, receiving it, place that field around you, send it ahead, and also ask that question. What does love do here? What does love do now? And then remember your tools. You have Reiki on your Reiki with your breath, Reiki with your eyes, Reiki on the fly, all different things you can do. So I have Reiki trails. Thank you.
I was going to say that Reiki trails too. So that's activating Reiki in the bottoms of your feet, drawing any symbols into the bottom of your feet, and leaving Reiki trails around where you're going.
Yeah. So all different kinds of things. I forgot about Reiki trails. And of
Yeah.
course,
I didn't want to interrupt you because what you just said was amazing. So, but Reiki trails. And Colleen, you should do that when you're setting up on Wednesday.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm starting in this house. I'm
Yeah.
starting all the stores that I'm going into. And I'm a Reiki trail woman.
Blazing trails out there.
Blazing the trails, blazing the Reiki trails. Anyway, all right. Well, Robyn, do you want to add? Oh, and fuse. Thank you.
Emily,
That's
thanks.
right. I
Coming
have
through.
on your dishes, your food, the water. We always have like a water jug that we put lemon in for, all the water drinkers and imbue that. And then the other, other drinks people are drinking, you can imbue that and all the food that you cook. Yeah. And then for us at the table, we do our Thanksgiving address. And that prayer is on our website too, under ceremonies, under the gratitude ceremony. So we also do that. So